On March 28, 2025, the law enforcement officer and Squad 5 of the Houston Police Department's Gang Division served a capital murder warrant for a suspect observed inside a truck at a nearby residence. While conducting a felony stop, the defendant, who is identified by his Texas ID card, pulled up on the perimeter, got out of the vehicle, walked to the sidewalk, and began walking to the residence where the murder suspect was. The supervisor then ordered the defendant to stop and to stay right there. The defendant refused and continued ignoring officers and walking towards the residence. The supervisor ordered him to step back multiple times, but the defendant was once again ignored the officers. The law enforcement officer grabbed the defendant and made him bounce and the ground.
Okay, so now, but when you first started, you said they were going to a capital murder suspect in a car.
Yes, Your Honor. That's what. So I was originally reading the summary, and I'm going straight from the gems now, Your Honor. It looks like the suspect was observed inside a truck at a nearby residence.
So the suspect is not even in the residence. No.
Then they later state that there was that the suspect, that the defendant here was walking towards the residence where the murder suspect was. I'm not sure.
This hearing takes a surprising turn when the judge starts digging deeper into the officer's explanation. What sounds like a straightforward arrest suddenly becomes a confusing chain of events that doesn't seem to fully add up. The judge notices inconsistencies almost immediately and begins asking questions that nobody appears ready to answer. Balance seconds, the entire direction of the hearing changes, and the courtroom is left watching as the judge carefully examines whether the facts actually support the arrest.
Charged with interference with the duties of a public servant. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and/or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you, sir.
Yes, sir.
On March 28, 2025, an officer was in the process of serving a capital murder warrant on a suspect in Harris County, Texas. While conducting a felony stop, the defendant, who was identified by his Texas ID card, pulled up on the officer's perimeter.
All right, guys, this is one of those courtroom moments that proves why details matter. At first, this sounds like a routine probable cause hearing involving a defendant accused of interfering with police during a major criminal investigation. But as the judge starts asking basic questions, the story begins to unravel. What follows is a fascinating exchange where uncertainty starts replacing confidence, and the judge refuses to move forward without getting clear answers. Watch closely because this hearing escalates much faster than anyone expected.
I got out of their motor vehicle and began walking to the residence where the murder suspect was. The officer supervisor ordered the defendant to stop and stay right there. The defendant refused and continued to ignore officers while walking towards the residence. The officer supervisor ordered the defendant to step back multiple times and then grabbed the defendant and took him to the ground.
Him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was he the capital murder suspect?
No, Your Honor.
I live there.
Stop.
Oh, sorry, sir.
The moment this hearing begins, the situation sounds serious. Officers were reportedly conducting operations connected to a capital murder investigation, which immediately raises the stakes. According to the report, the defendant ignored commands and walked toward an active police perimeter. But then, an important detail emerges. The defendant claims he actually lives at the location. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple case becomes much more complicated. The judge now has to determine whether this was someone intentionally interfering with police or someone caught in the middle of a chaotic situation involving their own residence.
I believe that they were in the process of serving a warrant on someone else at the residence, and that's when they came in contact with the defendant. Ordered him to stop. He refused to stop going towards the residence. Your Honor.
They served the warrant. What ended up happening?
Looks like after refusing commands, there was a brief struggle where he was detained.
Was the murder suspect there?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. It does not say. I have no further facts that show if the warrant was service was complete on the warrant or not, Your Honor, or completed at the time.
This is where the hearing starts moving in a very different direction. The judge wants a clear explanation of what actually happened after the defendant approached the area. Instead of getting firm answers, the court begins hearing uncertainty about important details. the explanation starts becoming less precise, and that immediately catches the judge's attention. When a judge is trying to determine probable cause, missing details can become a major issue. You can feel the atmosphere changing as the court starts focusing less on accusations and more on whether the facts are actually being presented clearly.
I just believe they were in the process and believed him to be at the residence, and that's been this specifically.
Read it again, if you don't mind.
Yes, Your Honor. On March 28, 2025, the law enforcement officer and Squad 5 of the Houston Police Department's gang division served a capital murder warrant for a suspect observed inside a truck at a nearby residence. While conducting a felony stop, the defendant, who is identified by his Texas ID card, pulled up on the perimeter, got out of the vehicle, walked to the sidewalk, and began walking to the residence where the murder suspect was. The supervisor then ordered the defendant to stop and to stay right there. The defendant refused and continued ignoring officers and walked.
This is the exact moment where the judge decides to slow everything down and take a closer look. Rather than accepting the summary at face value, he asks for the report to be read again from the beginning. As the details are repeated, new questions immediately emerge. The description of where the murder suspect was located seems to conflict with other parts of the explanation, and the judge quickly notices it. What looked like a routine reading of facts suddenly turns into a careful examination of whether the story being presented actually makes sense from start to finish.
Towards the residence. The supervisor ordered him to step back multiple times, but the defendant once again ignored the officers. The law enforcement officer grabbed the defendant and made him bounce and ground.
Okay, so now, but when you first started, you said they were going to a capital murder suspect in a car.
Yes, Your Honor. That's what. So I was originally reading the summary. I'm going straight from the gems now, Your Honor. It looks like the suspect was observed inside a truck at a nearby residence.
So the suspect is not even in the residence.
This is where everything comes together. After hearing the report multiple times and noticing the inconsistencies, the judge reaches a point where he simply isn't convinced by what has been presented. Unanswered questions surrounding the suspect's location and the circumstances of the encounter become impossible to ignore. Rather than making assumptions, the judge focuses strictly on the information in front of him. It's a powerful reminder that in court, confidence alone isn't enough. Facts have to be clear, consistent, and supported. In just a few moments, the entire hearing shifts because the details fail to withstand scrutiny.
No.
Then they later state that that the suspect, that the defendant here was walking towards the residence where the murder suspect was. I'm not sure, Your Honor. I have nothing for that.
I find no probable cause in your case. Just be careful, man. When you get into a pissing match with
I understand.
who's going to win,
I understand.
no.
Yes, sir.
All right.
What makes this hearing so interesting is that nobody was arguing loudly, nobody was having a meltdown, and yet the tension kept growing with every question the judge asked. Sometimes the most dramatic courtroom moments happen when a judge calmly starts examining the facts and realizes something doesn't quite fit. A few missing details completely changed the course of this hearing and forced everyone to slow down and take a closer look at the evidence being presented. Do you think the judge made the right decision, or should the case have moved forward despite the unanswered questions? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more real courtroom drama and surprising judge reactions.